very distinguished brother and sister, Sri Arjun Ram, Union Minister for Law and Justice, Mr. R. Venkatramani, the Attorney General for India, Mr. Vishal Mehta, the Regional Surgeon, Dr. Chandrachud, President of SCBA, Mr. Sukumar Joshi, Vice President of SCBA, Mr. Rohit Pandey, Secretary of SCBA, Office Bearer of SCBA, Mr. Manoj Mishra, President, Skora, all the office bearers, senior advocates who I dare say have mentored so many of us as young lawyers, members of the bar, officers of the registry, ladies and gentlemen. As we gather here today to celebrate our 76th Independence Day, I wish all my fellow Indians and every member of our family of lawyers and judges and the staff a happy Independence Day on this momentous occasion. 15th August 1947, the day when our collective struggle for freedom stood vindicated and our national soul found its utterance. After 76 years, our tricolor flutters in the heady winds of liberty and equality. There have been times when the wind has stood still and there have been storms on the horizon. But the flag hearkens us back to the collective glories of the past and summons the will to continue them in the present. It beckons us to allow the constitutional ideals and values in our lives to flourish. It serves as a symbol of our collective heritage and guides us towards our future aspirations. I can't tell you what a great honor it is for me to stand before you as the Chief Justice of this great court. I remember the days when I would be coming here as a young junior to hear the speeches by the Chief Justice, the judges, eminent lawyers, the Attorney General included. And now to be in this transformative role where I have to address you makes my heart flutter. Our independence marked our transition from imperialism to an independent nation based on the ideals of republicanism and democracy. Our founding leaders set the national priorities and visualized the institutional apparatus to bring out a social, political and economic change. To enable this change, our constitution institutionalizes a model of governance with Parliament, the executive and the judiciary at the helm. However, other institutions such as the family, the media, schools and universities, our bureaucracy, political parties and voluntary organizations also have an important role in bringing about a fundamental change in the structure of our society. Why does this annual event, which is held by the SCBA, of such great prominence and significance in our lives? This truly is the national bar. SCBA is not a bar for Delhi. All of you have come here from different parts of the country in search of a better life, but in dedication to the cause of the nation. And I realize particularly when we have your members who have joined us on the bench, of the great wisdom and learning which you and practice in your bar gives to your members, and we realize that when they sit with us on the bench of the Supreme Court. But equally, it is important, I think, for us to recognize the fact that the Supreme Court bar, as a leading bar of the country, stands for the protection of the rule of law. Without you, the lawyers, and without your fearlessness, and without your independence, we as judges would be really ciphers in the sands of time. When I get even an innocuous request from a member of the bar, sometimes only misconceived, for taking up a matter immediately on the same day, I yet hear it very, very carefully and assign a bench at the earliest opportunity. Because irrespective of an outcome of the case, I believe the real strength of our system is granting access to justice to our citizens. That sense of confidence of the individual that an arbitrary arrest, a threatened demolition, maybe a pension which is attached unlawfully, must find a solid voice in the judge's Supreme. Our freedom struggle offered a constitutional space for the marginalized and the downtrodden to raise their voice against these structures and influences of a hegemonic social structure. It enjoined the institutions of governance to proactively respond to the sufferings of the people to do justice. If we glance at the last 76 years, we realize that each institution has contributed to the strengthening of our nation's soul. And it is important that we recognize that all the institutions of the nation, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, are associated with common tasks of nation building. This momentous day should serve as an occasion to recalibrate our collective goals and institutional aspirations. Our Constitution envisages an important role for the judiciary to ensure that the institutions of governance function within defined constitutional limits. Moreover, the courts provide a safe, democratic space for individuals to seek protections of their lives and liberties. The Supreme Court particularly has been the vanguard of institutional governance by enhancing access to justice and promoting constitutional values. But as all of us judges know, a judge or a judgment is as good as a lawyer who appears before the court. So in the work which we do, we find enhancement in your traditions, in the ideals of the bar, in the independence of the bar. The past 76 years suggest that the history of the Indian judiciary is the history of the daily life struggles of Indian people. If our history teaches us anything, it is this, that no matter is big or small for the courts. It is in the routinely small matters that issues of grave constitutional and jurisprudential importance emerge. Resolution of every legal grievance is important. In attending to such grievances, the courts are only performing their plain constitutional duty. As I look to the future, I believe the greatest challenge before the Indian judiciary is to eliminate the barriers to accessing justice. We have to enhance access to justice procedurally by eliminating the constraints which prevent citizens from approaching courts, and substantively by building confidence in the court's ability to dispense justice. And we have a roadmap in place to make sure that the future Indian judiciary is inclusive and accessible to the last person in the line. The law minister was speaking to me just the other day, and he said that we celebrate in 2023, 100 years after Dr. Ambedkar first stepped foot in the fertile soil of our court premises. He suggested to me, why don't we now have an event to mark the evolution of what Dr. Ambedkar was then 100 years ago, and what his successors today, the young lawyers, the young professionals, are in our society. To make our courts accessible and inclusive, we need to overhaul our court infrastructure on a priority basis. Our emphasis on modernizing the judicial infrastructure to meet the challenges of the future is key to this mission. In this regard, I must share with you what I have already shared from across the judicial platform, that we plan to expand the Supreme Court by constructing a new building to accommodate 27 additional courts, 4 registrar courtrooms, but most importantly, adequate facilities for lawyers and litigants. This expansion of the Supreme Court is planned in 2 phases. In the first phase, the museum and the Annex C building will be demolished to construct a new building, providing for 15 courtrooms. The SCBA library, library for SCORA, offices for the President, Vice President and Secretary of SCBA and SCORA, the SCBA and SCORA executive meeting rooms, canteen for lawyers and litigants, women's bar room, and other requisite facilities for lawyers and litigants. They are vital stakeholders. As you know, over the last several months that I have been in this office, I do not follow a top-down approach. I first consulted my own colleagues. The members of the building committee dedicated their evening hours to finalizing the plans which were prepared by the PWD tentatively. Justice Kaul joined us, though he's not a member of the committee. I'm not a member of the committee, but both of us joined the committee because it's our mission. We have unveiled the plans to the lawyers represented by SCBA and SCORA, and we have now submitted the proposal to the Government of India, to the Department of Justice. A detailed DPR has been drawn up, including budgeting. Detailed plans have been drawn up, and that is now with the Department of Justice, and I'm absolutely sure that it will receive best attention from the Law Minister and the Department of Justice. In the next phase, some of the portion of the existing court complex will be demolished for the construction of the second part of the new building to accommodate 12 courtrooms, registrar's courts, a lounge for SCBA and a lounge for SCORA. The new building will reflect the constitutional aspirations, beliefs and priorities of the Indian people, in addition to providing a space which facilitates access to justice. They say that sunshine is the best disinfectant. I say technology is the best tool at our disposal to eliminate the inefficiency and opacity surrounding the judicial process. We have to tap into the full potential of technology to overcome the procedural barriers to justice. In pursuance of this, we are implementing phase 3 of the e-courts project. Phase 3 of the e-courts project, which has received the budgetary sanction of the Government of India to the extent of 7,000 crores, seeks to revolutionize the working of courts in India by interlinking of all courts across the country, setting up the infrastructure of paperless courts, digitization of court records, and setting up advanced e-Seva Kendras in all court complexes. The reason why e-Seva Kendras are crucial is because we in the judiciary are conscious of the fact that every lawyer does not have access to internet services or even to a laptop or a computer. So we will not leave even the last person behind in our mission to incorporate technology. Our aim is to create a judicial system that is more accessible, cost-effective and affordable for every individual who seeks justice. We are already striving to make the court premises and court services disabled friendly. For instance, we have operationalized screen-readable website and case files to remove the barriers faced by the blind community in accessing court services. We have now opened our judicial processes to innovation, to transform the manner in which citizens access judicial services. Since I took over as the Chief Justice of India, the Supreme Court has developed and deployed numerous IT projects, such as the online portal for right to information, e-SCR, online appearance portal for advocates, iJuris, which maps the entire judicial infrastructure across the country, and neutral citations. The reason for the e-SCR was very simple. Young lawyers do not have the resources to afford the cost of private software. And we thought that we must have this service as a free service which the Supreme Court provides for lawyers across the country. From e-SCR, we are now moving to a digital SCR, so that every case citation will be hyperlinked in the use of the e-SCR. I must also share with you that the Honorable Prime Minister today, in the course of his independent speech at the Red Fort, mentioned about the efforts of the Supreme Court to translate the judgments of the Supreme Court in Indian languages. I would like to further elaborate on that and tell you that up to now, 9,423 judgments of the Supreme Court have been translated in regional languages. 8,977 in Hindi. And we have covered so far Assamese, Bengali, Garo, Gujarati, Kannada, Khasi, Malayalam, Marathi, Nepali, Odia, Punjabi, Tamil, Telugu, and Urdu. And our effort is that all the 35,000 judgments of the Supreme Court from the birth of the Supreme Court should be available to our citizens in every single language. But apart from providing access to citizens, this will also facilitate the use of regional languages in our courts. Because what use is it to say that you can argue in a regional language if the judgments are all not in the regional language? So this is a very important part of our mission. As you know, recently we have cured the evil and the ill of long lines every morning for obtaining passes in the physical form by launching our new portal called Suswagatam. Su means Supreme Court and Swagatam, of course, welcome to the Supreme Court. I visited the facilitation center and I told all the young lawyers who were standing there who didn't have proximity passes that from tomorrow, this is disbanded. Go and obtain your passes online. We have installed defibrillators across the Supreme Court so that if there be an unfortunate eventuality where a lawyer requires immediate cardiac resuscitation, that defibrillator is available. We have trained our staff, we have trained the lawyers themselves in the use of defibrillators. Other initiatives of the Supreme Court, such as live streaming of court proceedings and live transcription of court proceedings, will contribute towards transparency of our legal processes. I believe that the legal community as a whole has a responsibility to ensure the continued relevance of the Indian judicial system in the lives of people. After independence, we inherited the colonial legal traditions which were opaque and impersonal. But our courts have ensured that the law exudes human interest and responds positively to the plight of every individual in our society, regardless of their social and economic factors. The functionality of courts is determined by how effectively they can answer the call of constitutional duty. I must, before I end, refer to a couple of things. One is the fact that it has been brought to my notice that verification of cases is taking time. I must tell you that I am working very, very closely every single day with the members of the staff to ensure that the verification is reduced to the minimal time required. I've also spoken, for instance, to IIT Madras recently when I happened to visit Chennai to find out whether we can use artificial intelligence to replace much of the human intervention in the pre-hearing proceedings of the court to ensure that from the date of filing to the hearing, the time is curtailed to the bare minimum. But let me give you a few figures because nothing speaks like data. In March, the total filing was 4,527 cases. 22,282 cases were listed. 4,086 cases were disposed of. The filing in April was 4,716, disposals 4,700. May 4,986, disposals 3,984, naturally because the court was on vacation and we didn't pressurize the lawyers if they were not available to argue their cases. But now look at June, look at July, the last month after the vacation. 5,044 cases were filed in the Supreme Court. 6,362 cases have been disposed of by the Supreme Court in the last year. So between March and June, over 19,000 cases have been disposed of. This would not have been possible without the tremendous effort which has been put in by each one of my colleagues. And I do know that none of the colleagues ever complains if I pass on a supplementary list of 5 matters to them, though I am trying to reduce that also to the minimum. But there was another problem which we faced. Presently, the listing system which we have put into place The listing systems is that all matters which are verified by Saturday, Monday and Tuesday will be listed on the next Monday. Matters which are verified on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday are listed on the next Friday. I thought that we must try and curtail even this lapse of time. So I'm working with the registry and I'm proposing that all matters which are verified on Friday, Saturday and Monday should be listed by the next Friday, and all matters which are verified by Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday should be listed by the next Monday. So we'll be curtailing the delay by another 3 or 4 days. But this is again work in progress. I can assure you that every day, every letter, every complaint, including a complaint which is sent to a social media website instead of being addressed to me, is dealt with by me. But I will also request lawyers that if you have a grievance, don't run outside the court. You have the head of the family who is sitting here to attend to your grievance. Our aim for the future is to ensure that our judicial systems are capable of managing the expectations of the Indian people. Legitimacy of our institutions can be secured only when the courts establish themselves as robust, independent institutions, impervious to the identity of the litigant before us, but cognizant of the same time of their context. In this regard, the judges and lawyers should conduct themselves in a manner which will inspire confidence about the independence and the integrity of our legal process. Recently, the Supreme Court released the sensitization model for the judiciary, and we are tomorrow releasing the handbook on combating gender stereotypes in judicial decision making. These efforts are aimed to ensure that we look inwards, question our biases, and insulate judicial institutions from embodying and entrenching those biases. On the request of the President for the lawyers' chambers, please rest assured that that is uppermost in my mind. Things which I can do on my own, I'm capable of doing with the cooperation of my colleagues. No Chief Justice can do it without the cooperation of the colleagues. But there are some things which require the engagement of the government. So I will use my good offices to do so. And I'm sure that we'll be able to find a solution in the near future. For the past 76 years, the courts have served as a prominent site of democratic participation. For the future, we have to recognize and eliminate the existing barriers to accessing courts, and in the process ensure that courts continue to serve as an effective and affordable democratic space. On the occasion of Independence Day, I thought I must emphasize our role as judges and lawyers in fostering, nurturing, and facilitating democracy. Last, it's not the icing on the cake, but I want to tell you that a proposal for providing 600 parking spaces for lawyers is also under process. I've got plans which have been prepared by the NDMC, and I can tell you that please rest assured that that also is going to be a mission and progress very soon. Thank you very much.